Healthy, wealthy and wise. Sounds great, doesn't it? On InFocus Recouched today, we're going to hear 3 perspectives on what it takes to live a happy, healthy and meaningful life.
Yep, that's right. And first up, we're going to see an interview with a feisty lady who has got some great advice on keeping that incredibly important part of your body healthy, your brain.
Whoa, strap yourselves in. How much do you know about how your brain works? Well, if you're like me and the answer's not very much, we're all very lucky because with me today is Dr. Arlene Taylor, brain function specialist. How are you, Arlene?
I'm glad to be here, thank you.
So how long have you been involved in this brain function area of interest and research?
My mother tells me that when I was 5 years old, she found me in my father's study looking at an atlas of the brain.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know where that came from, cellular memory perhaps, but I've been interested my whole life. And since the advent of brain scans, when we can now actually watch your brain functioning while you're still alive, it's just marvelous information. I'm so glad I'm still in my career.
Wow, so these are the sort of tests where they ask you to read or to remember something or to do something and they watch which part of your brain actually lights up. And wow, that's incredible. So how long have you then been involved in this as a profession?
I've probably been lecturing on brain function for 50 years.
Goodness, okay.
Well, yes, I know. Late 1800s is when I started.
That's a lot of expertise. That's the point I was trying to make.
And at first, you know, all we knew about the brain was observations, and that started with Hippocrates, who said, you know, there are 4 chunks to the cerebrum, and he was right. Okay. And that was the beginning of temperament, you know, sanguine, phlegmatic, you know, choleric, melancholy. And now that we can actually watch our brains functioning, a lot of what he said was accurate, but we are now getting, of course, much more refinements, and this is now being called the age of the brain.
That's interesting you say that, because I'm really noticing that there seems to be a lot of brain stuff going on in the public arena lately. I mean, I read a book recently by Dr. Timothy Jennings, you know, neuropsychiatrist, looking at the brain and spirituality. Barbara Arrowsmith-Young, you know, looking at education and the brain. A lady from South Africa, what's her name? Dr. Caroline Leaf, you know, switching on your brain. Is it a bit of a flavour of the month thing?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that we are now actually being able to figure out brain function. And if you pay attention and apply it practically, then you can start using your brain by design instead of just hit and miss. Sometimes you get it right, you're not sure what you did to get it right, so you can't replicate it, or you really mess up badly and you're not sure how you messed up, so you keep doing it again. You can actually live your brain by design in terms of your behaviors and what you're pursuing, and that's really exciting.
Well, this is the thing that I think is really surprising, you know, because we're hearing this word, you know, neuroplasticity, you know, come around. You can change your brain, because in the past, I'm sure I remember hearing, oh, your neurons are set, you know, once you kill your neurons, they're gone forever, there's nothing you can do about it, you know, all this sort of stuff.
Well, partly that is true. When you come out the chute, you pretty much have your neurons. You'll lose some of them in pruning. And we know that there are parts of your brain, like the hippocampus in that middle section that is your search engine. You can kill brain cells fairly easily based on your lifestyle, whether you are using inappropriate substances, not taking care of your brain. But yes, your brain is hardware and software, if you will. And we can do a lot about the software. And that's habits, changing your behaviors, and so on. Largely a choice. Many people don't think there's anything they can do, so they use it as an excuse. But there's lots you can do.
So it's not simple as this is the way I am. It is actually possible to teach an old dog new tricks, as they say.
Absolutely. May take them slightly longer, but sometimes not even that. Having said that, there's not a lot you can do about the hardware. So some things are set. You know, when I came out the chute, I happen to have an empathizing brain, which aligns with a female brain. Based on how you look, which may not mean anything.
Yeah.
But based on how you look, my guess would be that you have a systemizing brain that's more aligned with the male brain.
Okay.
But it could be, you see, that your brain doesn't match your body. And then you'd have an empathizing brain in a male body. So you can't always tell by looks. But so there's some things that you can't change, but you can change tons of stuff about your behaviors, and you can learn almost anything on the planet if you want to put the work in.
So there are actually some differences between the male and the female brain in general, not every man and woman, like you're saying.
Duh.
There are, yeah. Well,
Huge.
Yeah, okay.
We just got something called connectome research, which is DTI modalities, and it shows how the connections in the male brain versus the female brain run. And in your brain, you've got lots of connections top to bottom in each hemisphere, but not very many crossing from one hemisphere to the other.
Okay.
My brain has almost all its connections crossing between the two hemispheres, and just a few going up and down. Makes a huge difference on how behaviors are exhibited and what males do better and what females do better.
So how can the male brain and the female brain understand and relate to one another perhaps better than we do in this sort of men are from Mars, women are from Venus
well,
sort of perception we have?
Well, if you understand brain function, then you understand that we were really designed to be complementary, not antagonistic. But I will be able to do things that you don't do very well. And you're going to be able to do things that I don't do very well. For one thing, you've got way much stronger muscle function. Twice the upper body strength, 3 times the lower body strength. You can open the door for me and carry my suitcase anytime you want to. Because you do that better than I do.
Yeah. What about spirituality, Arlene? Because we sort of hear this research where they say, oh, if you stimulate a certain part of the brain, people have a sense of presence in the room, you know, which proves, they say, that the idea of God and having any sense of God's presence is just an illusion. It's your brain playing tricks on you. But other people see it quite differently. How do you understand the brain and spirituality?
Well, the brain can play tricks on you. For example, what people call déjà vu, you know, I had a past life. I don't think that's got anything to do with any possibility of a past life, but what it does have to do with is that your ancestors lived within your body from the past 3 or 4 generations as cellular memory.
Right.
And that will push you toward feeling comfortable in situations where you personally have never been, but one of your ancestors may have been.
Wow.
Now, in the temporal lobes, especially the right temporal lobe, there is some sense that that's the part of the brain that helps you have mystical experiences, meaning relating to a higher power that you've never seen and so on. And so sometimes people can misinterpret what that means. Whatever the human brain is, and we have a lot yet to discover, it's relational, it is sexual, having nothing to do with exhibiting sexual behaviors, but we are sexual beings, and it is spiritual. What doesn't seem to be innate is being religious. The brain is very spiritual. Religion is a choice to affiliate with a group of people. And so those can be very separate. There are many people who are exceedingly spiritual, who believe there's a higher power, who feel awe in the presence of nature and wonderful music and so on.
But the structures of religion just leave them cold.
But the structures leave them cold, especially if the style doesn't match their brain's innate giftedness.
Now, I heard one of your presentations in which you said if you read aloud, it's actually better for your brain than if you read silently. Does the same go for prayer? If you pray aloud, should that affect your brain more than just praying silently in your mind?
I don't know any research specifically related to prayer, but I would think yes for this reason. Because when you pray silently, it is a mental construct. When you read a paragraph to yourself silently, a little pinpoint of light shows up in each of those 4 chunks. But when you read aloud, now you have to change what you're seeing into articulated sound, which involves different parts of the brain, and certainly your tongue and your mouth and your teeth. And so 80% of those chunks light up, which is why that's now considered an anti-aging strategy. On top of that, you are now hearing the sound. So it becomes a whole brain experience, basically. And when you read aloud, you can put that into long-term memory, the information, much faster than when you read silently.
So this probably explains why I find that when I pray aloud, I tend to be able to concentrate better on what I'm saying than if I just try to pray silently. So
you could get perhaps more easily distracted.
Wow.
But the thing is, all you know is your own brain.
Sure.
And we tend to think that because our brain works this way, theirs must work this way too. Every brain on the planet is different.
Yeah, sure. Now, just before we finish, because we are just about out of time, can you give us maybe 2-3 tips for a healthier brain? How can we make the most of, you know, this gift we've been given of our brain?
The best thing you can do is live what we call a high-level healthiness lifestyle. If you take care of your brain, what you do for your brain also supports your immune system. And we now believe that that could probably, all things being equal, extend your life 25 years. Many people die much sooner because they haven't taken care of their brain. So you want to avoid trauma, toxins. If you smoke, stop. If you don't, never start. You want to keep your brain well hydrated because you can actually get brain tissue to shrink and pull away from your skull when you don't have enough water, and that's your primary beverage. Avoid soft drinks, period, but water, so that you keep your brain nicely hydrated. Plenty of sleep. Every brain needs its own amount of sleep. I need 9 hours solid.
Wow.
And if I get that, I can go like a house afire. If I lose an hour, I'll know it. If I lose 2, you'll know it.
Yeah, okay.
And then lean toward a Mediterranean cuisine, toward vegetarianism. So there's other things we can do, but that's it in a nutshell. 30 minutes of challenging brain stimulation every day, 30 minutes of good physical exercise, because no muscles in the brain. You need the physical exercise to whoosh the blood through.
Sure.
10 minutes of reading out loud a day, and then some of these other things. And hey, I'm aiming to be a minimum of 120 years old.
Go for it.
With good mental, emotional, physical, spiritual function.
Love it. Hey, well, thanks so much for your time. And if you're interested in knowing more about Dr. Arlene Taylor and her work on the brain, you can check out her website, arlenetaylor.org. The address is right there on your screen. Newsletters, your blog, some books you've written, it's all there.
That still makes me laugh every time. Well, duh, kid.
I know, she tore strips off it, didn't she? But honestly, Dora, I loved every minute of it. You know, she was so entertaining and she really knows her stuff. So, look, I can happily take a bit of a walloping from someone like that.
It's so funny.
Dear, yeah.
Hey, we'll take a quick break now, but we'll be back in just a sec.
We're going to start with some soybeans. Use some chickpeas, an onion, you have a teaspoon of salt, slice some tomatoes, slice some cucumber, some red onion just to give it a bit of freshness. So just make little falafels like this. They just smell amazing. Let's make our tahini dressing. Let's get in some tomatoes, cucumbers, some falafels. Drizzle some of this lovely dressing. All you need to do is roll it up and you've got a delicious lunch for your family.
Hi, welcome back. Now, one thing that many people have appreciated about the InFocus program is that our expert guests were careful to base our advice on the latest research.
Yeah.
And today's Family in Focus segment is no exception.
Yeah, Danielle Sinnott chats with family life educator Trafford Fisher here about the happiness triangle.
Ooh.
Let's check it out.
Well, if your marriage is a bit lost like a Bermuda Triangle, there's another triangle you might be interested in, the Triangle of Happiness. Welcome, Trafford.
Thank you.
Great to have
Dana.
you with us again. It's
Great
always
to
a
be
bundle
back.
of fun with you on the show.
Thank you. It's great. It's great.
So tell us about the Triangle of Happiness.
Deakin University in Melbourne did a study, Danielle, of, well, they did over 24 studies of happiness over 12 years. And what they come up with is a triangle of happiness. 3 things, of course, make the triangle. The first one is a loving partner. They found that happy people tend to have naturally a loving partner. And I think that's great. So we've got someone there on our side, someone's got our back, someone there who's there for us. So loving partner's number one.
Okay.
The second one...
Do you think loving partner as in this is a reciprocal thing? Between both people.
Yeah, where both people are there for each other. It's an intimate relationship. It's something a bit special, right?
Yeah.
The second one, there's a $100,000 household income. I was really surprised at that. $100,000. They suggest that once you go over that $100,000, you may not actually have any more happiness that comes out of that household income. Below that, where you are struggling, if you've got 5 kids and you've got 50,000, that's a different issue. That's pretty tough. But when you've got $100,000 and that kind of income coming in, that's another thing that helps out. The third one, which I'm particularly interested in, is having a social activity, but it's not just the social activity, it's not the chess club. Right?
It's not the chess club, it's not the
No, it's not this little quiet thing. It's
or...
got to have a sense of purpose.
Okay.
And I think that's really exciting. So you've got to have a social activity, but it's got to be there for somebody else. So the Rotary, helping out as a volunteer at the kids at school, helping out at the hospital, doing something for someone seems to come through in the study fairly clearly. So it's not just let's have a social time, it's has it got a sense of purpose?
Now, is this social time or as an individual time? Is it time together? Is it a combination of all of that?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, but the fact that you were doing something for somebody seems to suggest there's going to be somebody else involved.
As in, I'm talking about, though, say, a partnership. Are you doing this activity as a partnership with purpose or individually?
No, you can do it as an individual, sure. But you're doing it maybe as a group, like down the Rotary or, the ladies' club doing sewing for babies overseas, something where you're chatting away and working away. You're working for something that's got a purpose. And I think that's really neat, because often I'll go and do something for fun and happiness. And look, digging in the garden's great, that's all good. But I think there's that sense of doing something for somebody. So I look at have a loving partner, if at all possible, look after your income, but do something that's got a sense of purpose. And I think that last one particularly is going to really, really liven up this whole sense of, I'm alive and happy.
Yeah, great advice, Trafford, and certainly better than a Bermuda Triangle where we
a long
get
way
lost in all that stuff. Yeah, well done.
You.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, Kent. That's all you need. A loving partner, $100,000 a year, and a sense of purpose. Pretty simple.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I reckon, though, that we probably need to adjust that dollar figure upwards for inflation.
Definitely.
Time for a break now. InFocus Recouched will be back in a moment.
Father, I can't connect the dots through the little that I understand. What words can I say to reach you? How can I know that you are there, listening, hearing, caring? My words are broken, weak, and powerless. But I know your power is limitless. What can I say?
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
You know, Dora, I feel like I say this, just about every week, but I honestly do mean it. This interview that we're going to see now is one of the people I've admired most on InFocus.
Oh, well, let's take a look then and see if we can work out why.
Well, we have Grant Locke with us. He's just written this very provocatively titled book, Shoot Me First. Grant, welcome to the show.
Thank you, James.
Now, my first question is, where do I get a hat like that?
You get a hat like this in northern Pakistan or Afghanistan.
And what's this title, Shoot Me First? What's the story behind that?
Well, it came from an incident when I was working near the Pakistan-Afghan border at a place called Banu, and I was rebuilding a girls' school which had become defunct, and my Pakistani assistant, a little guy by the name of Samson. He rushes up to me and says, "Hey, Mr. Locke, jaldi jaldi, idhar aao, wo bahut naraz hai." Come quickly, they're very angry. So I go out the gates, the high walls, standard equipment, and in this alley it's full of bearded men with guns, and the big guy up the front steps up and he said, "Hey, if you do not stop your workmen, we will shoot them."
Huh.
And I said to him, "Look, this is for your girls, your Muslim girls in the town and the few Christian girls in town. I don't get anything out of this. I don't get any cuts from a contractor, as they might have suspected. It's for you." He said, "If you do not stop those workmen, we will shoot them."
Right.
And I thought of the girl that I'd talked to the day before, and she said, "I want an education. I want to go to school. One day I want to be a doctor."
Wow.
And I eyeballed this guy and I said, "Well, if you're going to shoot my workmen, you'll have to shoot me first."
Huh. And you're here, so I assume he didn't shoot you. He didn't shoot you.
Well, either they were bad shots or I've got a very good surgeon or something. But you'll have to read the book to find out.
There you go. So what on earth brought you to Pakistan and Afghanistan? You were there for 24 years.
Yeah. James, it wasn't the what, it was who.
Mm-hmm.
And we're Christians, we're concerned about needs, and both here and overseas, and God gave me a very clear call. It was like a voice without a voice inside me, saying Pakistan, and I just knew we needed to leave our agricultural business, our stud cattle business, and do some preparation and go and serve those people.
That's right. So you were running a cattle station in South Australia. You get over to Pakistan and then later on into Afghanistan. 24 years over there. What were you doing?
Well, various stuff, but ranging from setting up community development projects and in the desert, heaviest populated desert in the world, in the Thar, in the southeast corner of Pakistan, through to building schools and hospitals and legal work where a branch of the Islamic government was trying to take land from the Christian minority. And then in Afghanistan, I was the deputy director of a wonderful and large Christian organisation serving the people there for 46 years in eye care, physiotherapy, community development. Great stuff.
Now this is, for most of us, when we think about, okay, we want God to use our lives, we want to go wherever He leads us, we'd be hoping that He didn't tell us to go, frankly, to Pakistan or Afghanistan right now. I mean, this has got to be one of the most dangerous places. You're a Christian, you're Australian. How did you survive? How did people treat you?
Well, James, we learnt the language, we lived amongst the people, and generally we were very well accepted and appreciated. They're very hospitable people, and they appreciated that we were serving them, and the organisations we were working with were serving them. And sometimes somebody would say, "Well, why is it that you are breaking your neck to stay here and we are breaking our neck to go?" And we say, "Well, come and have a cup of tea and we'll talk about our motivation and what God's done for us and how we want to serve you and show the face of Jesus Christ to you."
Well, it's incredibly, if I could say, shows incredible faith and also bravery to be over there for that long. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was. There are some scary moments, but never boring and very fulfilling.
Now, when most of us think about Afghanistan and Pakistan, we think of the Taliban, we think of Osama bin Laden being over there.
I actually worked in the town where Osama bin Laden was located, at Abbottabad, yeah.
So, I mean, that's incredible. What do you think that we as Christians in Australia, or even people who aren't Christians, what should we know about Islam that probably most of us are not very well aware of?
James, my approach is to love Muslims, but I want to challenge, and I do this in the book a bit, challenge people in Australia and in the West to ask questions about Islam. Love Muslims, but ask questions about Islam, because Islamic Sharia law, which sometimes is presented as the best system, and when parts of that law are wanted to be introduced into our society, then we should ask questions, because we've seen what Islam is like on the ground, and the questions to ask is, take me to a place in anywhere in the world where Sharia law is practiced that impresses me. And the second question is, what are the human rights values of Sharia law? And people are not treated equally under the law in Sharia law, and certainly not women, etc.
Sure. Now, you know, it's inspiring that you were building a school for girls over there. What has been the long-term impact of schools like that? Are girls and women being empowered in Pakistan and Afghanistan?
Yes, they are. And you know, in any country, if you can build up the women and educate them, etc., and I'm sure you know this, then that's the way ahead.
It's the key to development, isn't it?
It is one of the major keys to development. And so those inputs of, you know, people say, well, you know, it'd be great to see more happening. But over the years, as people's lives have changed by your input, one at a time, or families, it's been, you see changes. And there's lots of questions about the future of Afghanistan.
Sure there are.
But we've been privileged to serve there.
Well, good on you, Grant. Now, if people want to get a hold of this book, Shoot Me First, just packed with great stories and a lot of insights as well, where do they go?
Well, they can get it from Christian bookshops. It's starting to become available in other bookshops, and also online, Amazon and Kindle.
So widely available. Shoot Me First, Grant Locke. Grant, thanks so much for coming in, and I'm sure that many of our viewers will be thinking to themselves, what will God ask me to do? Because what you've done is pretty exceptional.
Well, just one word of advice. People tell me, you don't start reading this book late at night or you'll be late for work.
Ah, there you go. Good on you.
Man, he gave 24 years of his life. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it wasn't just him, though. It was his wife and his 3 kids that they went to. It must have been an amazing place to grow up for them. But, you know, Dora, what Grant didn't say during that interview is that one of the reasons he had to come back, you know, from being a missionary, is that his eyesight was failing. When he was in our studio, he was pretty much legally blind, I'd say.
Oh, man. And I guess somehow, like, back there, he wasn't living on Trafford Fisher's $100,000 a year.
No, I doubt it.
But in terms of a life filled with meaning, he didn't have a shortage of that.
Hard to beat. Well, we really hope you were challenged and informed by today's episode of InFocus Recouched. We're out of here, but don't forget, all our videos are online at infocus.org.au. Check it out, share the links, and stay in touch.
We'll see you next time. God bless.